Okay. Hi, Dee. I'm so happy that you're on.
Hello, I'm super excited to be here.
So Dee and I met at the Wing through a mutual friend, Hillary, who I feel like Hillary has introduced me to just about everyone. When
Yeah,
I
Hillary
first
and even Akancha too.
and Akancha and Morgan, who was on last week's episode. So Hillary is like the one to thank for all of this. But I remember when I first met you, I think we got together for it was like a girls' Christmas party. And
Yeah, it was a little Galentine's happy hour.
yeah, and it was so cool to hear kind of everyone's story because everyone who's a member at the Wing has a story. A lot of women there are entrepreneurs, which is it's so cool to live in that environment and to work with like-minded people. But I think one of the things that stuck out to me about your story was just, how you've built this really engaged audience and built this brand and have this awesome company, the Boss Body Revolution. And I just want to talk a little bit about what it was like getting all of that started.
Totally. Definitely. I can definitely share my story of how I started with this whole thing and how I ended up where I am right now. Um, so I have always been into health and fitness, not always in the healthiest way. I struggled with an eating disorder when I was in high school and just had a pretty negative relationship with food in my body for a really, really long time. And so after college, I started a job in Silicon Valley. I was a product manager at a couple different tech companies out here in the Bay Area. And it was during that time that I really fell into the world of strength training. I got really into lifting weights. I started bodybuilding. I started competing in bikini competitions. And I felt like super empowered by going to the gym and learning to lift weights. And I learned a ton about nutrition, about training, about lifestyle, about all this stuff. So around that time, I started a little Instagram page. Originally, it was called Squats and Samosas. Yeah, it was super funny. So one of the things that I noticed was that I just didn't really see any women who ever looked like me in the gym or in any of the sports I played growing up. I'm Indian American, or I'm originally from India, and I guess health, sports, and just working out is not a huge part of our culture. So I called it Swats and Samosas because I wanted to kind of have that angle and promote getting more Indian women in the gym. And I would post all these like funny little videos of like how not to do a bicep curl, like how to do a bicep curl, kind of like good way, bad way, like really making it really funny and engaging. And people really loved it. So I think it really resonated with all women, not just Indian women. So I kept posting more of these like high value content, all these like little tips to get women lifting weights. I would go to the weight room and I'd hate that I was the only girl in there. Have you been into a weight room before, right? It's
Yeah.
so intimidating to step foot in there. So anyway, I posted all this stuff that really resonated with a lot of people while I was doing my product management job. This was like a total side hustle. And eventually I got some inquiries about coaching. So I got certified as a personal trainer, got certified in nutrition as well. And I started just taking on online coaching clients on the side. So it started off as a side hustle. I found that I really, really, really loved it. I was also going through my own transformation at the time, kind of exiting the bodybuilding world, really learning to approach health and fitness from like a more holistic point of view, really learning to love myself, not kind of excessively restrict. And so I brought a lot of that into my coaching as well. So it started off as a side hustle and then eventually just got to a good point financially where I was able to quit my full-time job and do my business, be a coach for full time. So I did that for, I've been doing this for about 3 years now, coaching for 3 years and full time for 2 years. The past 2 years have just been me. I've been kind of the main coach as well as doing the business stuff. This year, I'm actually expanding my team and I'm shifting focus to more of the business side of the house. And I have a team of coaches now who are working for me, and our company is called the Boss Body Revolution.
Wow. You mentioned in the beginning that you didn't really approach it in the healthiest way when you were first getting started. And then
Yeah.
what was that transition like, moving to a place where you were approaching it from a really more holistic standpoint?
Yeah, I think so I think with this, I think when I first started, I had really negative body image. So kind of long story short, when I was in 8th grade, my family moved from South Carolina, which is like super diverse. Like I went to an all-girls school, was super confident. We moved from South Carolina to rural New Hampshire, where I was like one of the only Indian girls in our whole school. I looked very different from everybody. I was just hitting puberty, right? You're 8th grade, 13 years old. I was getting new curves everywhere. And the moment I stepped foot into this new school, I was like, oh shit, like, I look very different. I have no friends. And what I saw was all the popular girls were super, super stick thin. And so I started to feel like, oh, like if I want to fit into this new school, I just need to be super skinny, right?
Mm.
And so it's just like this logical switch in my head, like, oh, like that's just what I need to do for boys to like me and for me to fit in. And so that was kind of how it all started and kind of the root of all my negative body image. And so I started really restricting my food, over exercising. I remember I'd like go to swim practice, but then like walk to and from school to just get more exercise. And I'd like count how many blueberries I ate that day and like track everything. And it was super, super, super unhealthy. I was anorexic. And then, I stopped getting my period and it was this whole thing.
Mm.
So yeah, it was a pretty unhealthy relationship. And I feel like once I kind of discovered strength training and really learned about nutrition, that helped a lot of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember like the first time that you were strength training and you thought to yourself, like, wow, this is amazing. I want to do this more.
Yeah, I think it was when I first started working with my first online coach.
Ah.
And I just had that feeling of like feeling so strong and like learning to use food as a way to fuel me rather than like a torture tool, basically.
Yeah, like looking
So,
at it like this can
yeah,
be a source of pleasure and enjoyment, and I can have
yeah,
the best of both worlds.
totally. I think also a big thing that helped me heal was like learning to value myself in other ways. Like I think strength training, like the tactical stuff helped, but the mindset of like really seeing what my body can do rather than obsessing about what it looks like, and like learning to really recognize that the reason my friends hang out with me is not because what my body looks like, it's because of all these other things. And kind
Wow.
of, yeah, reevaluating how I see myself.
Wow. So what was it like going from side hustle to, okay, I'm going to make this my full-time gig?
It was really exciting. It was really scary. I think that I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Even when I was a kid, I was like starting little businesses. My first business was a little bakery business out of my house called Miss Macaroon. Bake and sell macaroons. In college, I had a little business that gave you it was like a perfume recommendation engine online. So I'd always been doing entrepreneurial things. I think once that's what attracted me to Silicon Valley. And when I was a PM, I kind of always felt in my heart that it was not my end game. I
Mm.
always did know that I wanted to start my own business. So I had this side hustle going on. I didn't love my job. I was not miserable. Again, a lot of people, they like hate their jobs and miserable, right? But I think, I mean, if anybody who's listening has worked in Silicon Valley, the jobs are pretty cushy. Like they give you a lot of perks. I had a really great manager. Like it was a good job. And I think it just didn't feel like it was satisfying me as much as the coaching was.
Mm.
So once I was able to see that there was actually like a path to financial viability and like I can make good money from this, it was sort of like a no-brainer. Like, well, yeah, I'm going to go do that. I'm young. I don't have kids. I don't have a mortgage. Like I want to maximize my risk right now.
Wow. Okay. So there was no second thought. It was like, this is what I'm going to do. As soon as it became clear that this was viable, then you just went full throttle.
Well, I waited until I got my bonus.
That's what I like to hear.
So I stuck around for that. I also will mention that I did work with a business coach who helped me so much in the beginning. Um, and investing in that was like key to like building my personal brand online and just getting to that point where it was financially viable.
Do you
So
think that do you recommend people work with coaches when they're first starting out, building their brand or building a
yeah,
business?
I
What
mean,
was that experience like for you?
I think it depends on how much experience you have had. Like if you've started companies before, if you kind of know the basics of all this stuff, marketing, sales, all this stuff, then it's fine. Like for me, I majored in math and computer science, so I had zero clue how to do sales. Like getting on the phone call to sell somebody coaching was like total.
Yeah.
alien territory for me. So it helped me to learn those fundamentals. My first coach like taught me about like Instagram, like how to write an Instagram post that gets engagement, and all like marketing, sales. So I invested a lot in coaching. I mean, I still invest a lot in coaching right
Yeah. I was just having this conversation with my mom, and we
now.
were talking about how most of the time we are all so close to ourselves. We're so close to ourselves in our work that it's almost impossible to look at ourselves, look at our work, look at our program objectively. And
Oh
so I
yeah.
can't imagine not working with someone, especially in the beginning when you're first getting started, to help you like pull out the most important parts that you want to share with the world, and like
Yeah.
how to pitch yourself on a sales
Yeah.
call. I mean, that was, I just had Jake Savage on the podcast a couple of episodes ago. We talked about pitching and just selling. Like if you're an entrepreneur, you're in sales. If you're selling,
Yeah.
you can be selling an idea, an experience, a product, a service, or yourself. We're constantly selling. So learning how to really show up and be confident and communicate yourself effectively is a learned skill for sure.
Totally. Totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
I
So,
think what also helped me with hiring a coach was just compressing that timeline. So from the time I hired the coach to when I quit my job was about 5 months, maybe,
yeah,
maybe 6 months.
that's
So I
huge.
think if I had tried to do it myself, I just would have taken like 2 years. It would have also like, I think she helped push me and called me out on my excuses, right? Like it doesn't take me 7 days to write an Instagram post. She was like, give it to me by tomorrow, and show it to me by tomorrow. So little things like that.
Totally. It just helps to have someone like edit and look at your things and give you outside perspective.
Yeah.
So, how did you grow your Instagram following and build your audience?
So in the beginning, it was a lot of just collaboration. So collaborating with people, I would do giveaways, consistent posting. Like in the beginning, I posted like every single day, at least 5 out of 7 days. Even now, I post at least four. Posting 3 or 4 days is like a bad week. If I'm posting like five-ish days, that's kind of what I aim for. And then just doing my stories. I would do like story takeovers for other people, and so people would get in front of me that way. Podcasting, things like that. I think a lot of different techniques helped.
Yeah. I think the more visibility you can create for yourself, the better.
Yeah,
One of the ways that I see people grow that I don't think people are taking advantage of quite yet is the Instagram story takeovers. Like when
yeah,
you can get your name in front of someone else's audience, it's huge because you're putting yourself in the way of all these people who are obviously interested in the topic that you're talking about. And if they
yeah,
like you, that's just more of an excuse for them to hop on over to your page and for them to give you a follow. So I think if
totally.
anyone is listening who's trying to grow their Instagram following, utilize your community. Like you have a whole network of people who I'm sure are also wanting to build their audience as well. So use each other, use your friends. The
Yeah,
wing has also been such a great resource for, building connections and
totally.
making a strong network. I think anytime that you can get in a place, network with people who are after a similar goal, it's always really good.
Yeah.
What would you say about like Instagram bio? That's a lot of the time what people are always trying to craft and have a hard
Yeah, um I think with Instagram bio, actually I have one more thing to say about the story takeovers real quick.
Yeah.
Then I'll answer your question. But back to the story takeovers, what has helped me is finding people in adjacent fields, not the direct field.
Mm,
So I think about what are my customers interested in, right? Obviously, they're interested in nutrition, fitness, weight loss, but what else? Like beyond that, I know most of them are like working professionals or probably interested in like the news or fashion or makeup, things like that. So finding bloggers in those areas and taking over their feeds can A, help them because they get something new in front of their audience, but B, make it so that you're not like competing with their audience, right? Because I feel like that's a little awkward if you're competing with their audience.
totally.
So I found like a few different fashion people and I like took over their stories and I did little like healthy recipe walkthroughs because that's something that their audience would find interesting too.
So
So
that's such a good point.
Yeah. So like make a list. What are the adjacent fields that your customers are interested in, and find people or brands in those areas.
I love that.
So back to the Instagram bio. I think that place is pretty important because it's like that first impression that people have of you. I think that it's important when you're trying to grow because it's what leads to like conversions. You have to think about your Instagram like a sales page. Like, is it going to convert? Like how many people who land on it actually convert? Like what's the conversion rate? I'm not sure if we actually have those stats on Instagram, but that's
We
kind of
should.
how
I wish we did. I don't think we do.
No.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I tell my clients is like, you have literally 3 to 4 seconds. Someone looks at your profile and they decide in that
Yeah.
few seconds whether or not they want to keep scrolling and look at the rest of your photos. So
Yeah.
that 3 to 4 second time block is an opportunity for you to be super clear on who you are and what you do. And I always use like clear always trumps clever every single time. So if you can just make it really crystal clear on what you actually do and what's in it for your target audience, then you sold them. But you're right. I think that Instagram profile page is like, it's like your website. You know, it's very similar because that's how people find each other nowadays is Instagram and then website.
Yeah. I feel like Instagram is like a step, like you said, a step above the website.
Yeah.
I love that clear trumps clever. That's definitely something I struggled with because in health and fitness, and one thing I see other health and fitness coaches doing is kind of skirting around what they actually do. So instead of being like, I help people lose weight, they'll be like, I help people get healthy. Right. But your ideal customer, like what do they want in their language? They want to lose weight. They want to shed fat. They want to look sexy in their bikini. Right. And so for me, it's been a learning and just talking to people in their language. Like obviously I help people build healthy habits, change their relationship with food, transform their confidence. But it's kind of like that instant, like if I tell people that, they're like, boring. Right?
Exactly.
We have to talk to what in their language.
Yes. We have this, like, I think all of us have this tendency to want to fluff things up and make things sound super eloquent and well written. And I think, of course, we want to take pride in what we put out there. But I think really, if you can get down to the core, the actual core sentence of what you do and what your work provides for people, that's when you win. And I've even struggled, like in the beginning, that's what I struggled with. I wanted to fluff everything up and make it sound beautiful and, add all of the finishing touches. But when I really got clear and just said, I teach entrepreneurs how to build their personal brand, it was like people resonated with that because they knew they wanted to have a brand. And then they were like, oh, well, this is the person to help me. So yeah, definitely.
Just looking at mine. Mine is I help women shed fat, get lean, and build healthy habits for life. There we go.
I love it. That's a great I help statement.
Thank you.
How long did it take you to grow?
To grow my Instagram? So I've had my Instagram for about 3 years. 3 years now, yeah. And I would say the first 2 years it grew pretty quickly. This was also like 2017, right? It was
So much easier.
So much easier back then to grow on Instagram. And it was also how much effort I put into it. Like when I was PMing at the same time as, doing this, all my effort was put into growth and engagement because I wasn't selling anything, right?
Right.
The last year, it's been a mixture of like selling, engagement, growth content, and like it hasn't been all just straight up growth content. And so it's definitely been slower.
How much of your own personal like network and influence and personality and really just the things about you do you think really sell your services? Do you think
That's
people,
a great question.
people reach out to you because of you or because of what you do?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And it's like a really great time to be asking me that because I'm definitely in a transition around that. So the past 2 years, it has been 100% me. Like it's literally been all my clients. I've made 6 figures annually from my Instagram page, right? It's just been that, my personal brand.
Yeah.
This year I am expanding it to the business. So I want the business to have its own brand and be kind of its own like independent entity and community really. So I'm trying to build a community brand that's a little bit separate from my personal brand.
Right.
So in the short term, all the people from the community they're coming from my personal brand. It's kind of
like a vehicle.
Yeah, I'm leveraging my personal brand to get people to follow the Boss Body Revolution. But ultimately, I want the community to have its own brand. At the same time, I think that a community does always have a leader, and that leader's story is going to be what really gets people inspired and motivated and gets people to follow them.
Exactly. Yes. And I think that is one of the common misconceptions that people have about personal branding. They think, well, I want to have this community and I want to build like this business separate from my personal brand, but
Yeah,
really they can work in conjunction with one another.
totally,
You
totally.
can have a great business. You can run an agency, you can have a firm, you can have a startup, whatever you're building can also live simultaneously with your personal brand. And your personal
Completely
brand will
agree.
be a vehicle to drive traffic and community and engagement to your business brand. Because
Yeah,
a message is always more impactful when it comes from a person. And to your point, when it has a leader and someone that people can look up to, which in your case,
yeah.
you. So talk to me a little bit about Boss Body Revolution and what the future looks like for it and what inspired you to start it.
Yeah, sure. So we are an online coaching studio.
Mhm.
We help women shed fat, get lean, and build healthy habits for life. And we focus on really high touch coaching for women. We help a lot of kind of busy professionals who are struggling with healthy habits and balancing that work life, health, balance, all that good stuff. Really, a lot of our women have been struggling with like yo-yo dieting, stress eating, maybe binging, and they want to just develop a healthier relationship with food, as well as lose weight and get leaner and just feel better in their bodies. So what prompted me to start it was a couple of things. I think there's a lot of just issues in the weight loss industry with people jumping to quick fixes and fads and all these things that don't really work, things that I struggled with personally. Um, and I think there's really a need for like high touch personalized coaching online. We see that in person, right? You go to training, you go to trainer, you get very high touch service, but we don't have that much high touch services in the online space. Most online coaching, it's very like surface level. You communicate with your coach via email. It's like not that much connection. So what
Mm.
we do is like a little bit more transformative, where you have like a weekly coaching session each week where you really talk about what happened last week, what's the plan this week, and it's a lot more hands-on and supportive. So we do group coaching, we do private coaching. My vision for it is to, I want to grow up. Right now, I have 3 coaches on my team. I want to grow it to um, a big, definitely a bigger coaching team, and really change the way that weight loss is coached at the end of the day.
Yeah. So do you guys focus on both like the nutrition aspect and strength training in conjunction with one
Yeah.
another? Okay.
So we do nutrition, fitness, and just general like lifestyle coaching.
Yeah. Wow. So what was it like going from solo entrepreneur to now leading and managing a team? Because that's something that I'm like currently doing too. And it's such an exciting time. I'm
Yeah,
so energized and revitalized and inspired by what we're building, but it's also such a challenge because
it's so
you're
challenging.
given a new
Yeah.
set of responsibilities. So what has that been like for you?
Yeah. Well, so I will backtrack and say that I don't think it is for everybody. Like when I first started my business, I did not think that this was what I wanted. So when I first started my business, I thought I wanted just like a lifestyle business where I could travel and have a laptop lifestyle and be my own boss and do my own thing. And I really value that I was the only person, right? I really wanted to just be like a freelance coach, basically. So I did that for 2 years. And after 2 years, I just was getting so bored. Like it was not fulfilling me. I was getting very lonely. That was the other thing. And I was kind of at this crossroads where I was like, do I want to keep just being a coach and doing my own thing like this, living the laptop lifestyle? Or do I want to really, or I could go back to work and go back to 9 to 5, or I could really go all in with this and grow out the team and build it up. So I decided to do that. And for me, it was a really, really great decision. It's really helpful. It's obviously helpful to have a team. There's only so much you can do on your own. Um, it's helping me grow because I think I'm at that next stage where the next stage of growth requires leadership and management and learning those skills. So for me, it's definitely been a challenge, but it's definitely been exciting and fun and super empowering.
Ugh, it makes me so excited to hear that. I remember kind of thinking the same thing, Dee, when I started building out my team and hiring people to help me with things. I remember feeling that shift. Like this is not the same, and it is a very different arena. It's a different
Yeah,
ballgame because suddenly you aren't quite living that laptop lifestyle like you mentioned. It's a lot more high touch. You're managing not only your clients, but you're managing relationships with your team, and you're building and watering those relationships. So it's just like this, you have to become not only a great entrepreneur, but a great leader. And it just takes, I think one of the things I've learned this year is that entrepreneurship is honestly self-development in disguise. It's like, if you want to be a great business leader, then you have to be great on the inside, and you have to kind of take a holistic approach to entrepreneurship and make sure that all of the boxes are being checked. Like, am I taking care of my health? Am I taking care of my body? How is my mental health doing? And, like, thinking about all of this.
Have you heard that phrase, before you lead other people, you have to first lead yourself?
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is definitely a learning I learned, because when I started my business, I went like balls to the wall, crazy, foot on the pedal, and I burnt out in like the first 8 months. And so I had to take a step back and be like, whoa, this is like not how I want to live my life.
Totally. So how do you manage a team, manage your clients, go to the gym? Like, how do you do all those things and take care of your mental health too?
So I would say, I think the big thing that just helps me is boundaries. Boundaries with when I talk to my clients. So I use like the Voxer app to communicate with them, and they know like I'm only reachable within business hours, Pacific time. Boundaries around me, like when I am going to stop working. Like, I used to be in this habit of kind of procrastinating and derping around during the day, and then nighttime would come and I'd be like, oh my God, I have to do all this stuff. And I'd stay up super late and not get good sleep, and it would just be this like vicious cycle. So this year I'm like, okay, I'm gonna set a boundary of no work past 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So I know that might seem a little bit late for some people, but I go to the gym in the evening, and then I come back and I might do some more stuff. And I really just try and set that boundary for myself. Boundaries around weekends. Like, I used to work all weekend and and then I'd end the weekend just feeling resentful around my business and burnt out, and I would hate it. And so, and when I got into that low vibe state, I'd be like, oh, like I should just go look for a job. Like, do I really want to do this? And that was not helpful either. So boundaries around weekends have been really, really, really big for me.
Yeah. I think to that point, I think every entrepreneur has a different set of boundaries that work for them. And I think the key to winning this game is being self-aware and knowing what you need in order to feel healthy and in order to feel productive and effective. And I think, for you, while working till 8:00 that's perfect for you. Maybe for someone else, it's 5:00. Maybe for someone else, it's 10.
Yeah.
And
totally.
knowing that is so important. I've had that conversation with myself. Like, what do I need to do in order to feel productive and feel effective in my work and love it and not resent it? Because that's the worst. If you build up this great business and you have clients inquiring with you, but you're not happy and you're not like in it, then what is it for? You want to be able to set boundaries so you can love what you do and continue loving what you do.
Right. And you quit this job so you can live your best life, and your best life is not burning out and getting exhausted.
Totally.
Yeah.
What do you like? So a lot of people who are listening, they're entrepreneurs. A lot of them are still trying to kind of figure out which path they want to go. Some of them have figured it out and are building this amazing business. What do you think would be like your one piece of advice for someone who is really stepping into the arena and trying to build a business?
My one piece of advice, I would say, listen to your intuition. Listen to your intuition. It's usually right. And usually we kind of confuse intuition and fear. We're like, no, like I don't want to do that. Or we tell ourselves we shouldn't do things when we like deep down we kind of know that we should, but we don't do it because out of fear. Like for me, right? Quitting my job. I could have done that like way earlier than I did, but it was just fear that kind of kept me hanging around. And that bonus, true. But for other things, right? Like even doing a post on Instagram, right? Maybe you want to start, maybe you're just brand new to this. You want to start like posting more regularly on Instagram. Your brain is going to come up with 5 million excuses why you shouldn't do it. It's too late right now. This post isn't good enough. Wait until next week, blah, 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 blah. But like, if you listen to your intuition, it would tell you, no, like just rip the Band-Aid off and post. Like you have something valuable to share with the world, so go share it. And for me, like most of the times I haven't listened to my intuition have been like my business is not well.
Yeah, intuition is huge. It's so
Yeah.
huge, but it takes courage to listen to yourself and take the risk. Um,
Yeah.
One of the biggest hurdles I see entrepreneurs facing is keeping up a good cadence with posting, keeping consistent with
Mhm.
it, and not letting the fear of what other people think of them get in the way of actually posting. I think it's something
Yeah.
that all of us struggle with. I don't think anyone is perfect in this realm, but do you have any feedback or advice for people who are struggling with that specific hurdle?
I would say build it. Okay, well, first think about your why. Think about that big vision. Any goal that I have with business, I kind of think about it like how I coach weight loss, right? Like you don't want to go to the gym or you don't want to cook healthy, but think about why you're doing this. Like, why are you here? Why do you want to feel better in your body, right? Think about lying on the beach or going to the wedding in that outfit or whatever, right? So with your business, why is it that you're here? Why are you even doing this? What is the whole point? What's that? Have some sort of vision that gets you going. Um, like for me, one of my visions is just being able to take a vacation and have the business make money.
Yeah.
Because I'm not quite at that point yet. Like, but I want to like really build a team. So that clear vision is like me on the beach and like not thinking about the business while it's still generating revenue. So yeah, first think about that, and then B, just build it into a habit. Like for me, I definitely feel the fear every single day. I'm like, oh, like it feels like, oh, I posted too much this week. Do people really want to hear from me? People didn't like yesterday's post. What if they don't like today's post? Like, all the bullshit that goes through your head. At some point, you just have to like build it into a habit and be like, you know what? I'm just going to do this because I committed to it and it's my habit today. Um, and I think the last part that helps me is like, even if it helps one person, it was still worth it, right? Even if one person likes the post, it's still better than 0 people.
Yep. I always go into it with that mindset of like, if I'm going to write this long form Instagram caption, guaranteed my like 10% of my audience might read it to the end. Just know
Yeah.
that. But those 10% of people who read it to the end are the 10% of people who are eventually one day going to work with me. They're going to become
Yeah.
clients, my customers, and those are the people who really need to read it. The people who
Yeah.
do. And so, not everyone is going to read your post, and we have to think about how busy people are. There's a
Yeah.
million things
Most
happening.
people aren't going to read your post.
Exactly. But if you go into it of like from a place of service and empathy for your audience, it's like it's easier to approach it that way.
Yeah. The other thing that helps me with this Instagram mindset is remembering that it's a long game. Like
Mm,
the post you do now might get somebody to sign up as a client in a year from now.
exactly. Oh, I've
Right?
had that happen. Or I've had
Yeah,
people
same.
follow me for, a couple of years, and it takes them that long to be like, okay, I think I'm ready for this. But
Yeah. So
yeah, it's like
I
watering those relationships.
I totally think about it as like you plant the seeds when you get people in, and then each post is like watering the plant, giving it some nutrients so that by the time you're ready to do sales, like you can just, the flowers are ready to be cut.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah. And I think with sales, a big mistake I see people making with sales is they try and like cut the flowers when they haven't been grown. Right.
I love that.
And
That's a
like
great analogy.
in order for your sales team to be able to close, you need to have good marketing, and the marketing comes from like the daily content and the repeated exposure.
Are you the type of person who writes regularly, or do you like batch your content and schedule it?
Oh, so every time I try batching content, I get so much anxiety and my body is like viscerally like, no, we cannot do this.
I hate it.
So I hate it. I don't know
I don't
why.
do
I
it.
just hired a marketing intern, and I need to like batch content for her, and it's so difficult. So honestly, for me, I don't batch the content. If I batch, it might be like 2 days in advance. What I try to do is like have a list of the content so I know, okay, Monday I need to make this, Tuesday I need to make this, so I can do it day by day.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I kind of try to teach my clients and help them approach it in a way of, approaching content creation almost as like an influencer would. So, just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean you can't show up on social media like an influencer, quote. So what that means is documenting versus creating.
Yeah.
documenting experiences that are happening to you in real life as they happen, because that is one way to make your brand really engaging, enticing. People are more apt to want to pay attention because it's real. It's like real life, authentic content that is happening. And so I think entrepreneurs who spend 20, 30 minutes every morning, maybe it's early or whatever your zone of genius is, to just kind of talk about what they're really, what's happening in their life and in their business, and then approach it in a way of, how can I take what I'm learning and teach it to my audience? I think that is, it's easier to approach it that way. It's easier to be more consistent because it's speaking from a place of personal experience.
Totally.
So
yeah, totally. I mean, I think this works whether you're in business coaching or you're in the business field or health field or whatever. I think documenting, it helps build your brand, but I think it also just helps build trust with you. Like, people know you. They feel like they know you intimately. Like, oh, like, I know what she ate for breakfast today. I know what she wore today. I know what, she was feeling when blah, blah, blah happened.
Yes. And I've happened before where I have potential clients like get on the phone, we'll be having a clarity call or something, and they'll be like, I really reached out to you because I just loved your fake British accent on Instagram. Or I just love, like, they'll like throw out these little like things that I've done on my stories or things that I've said on my posts. And when you really show up online, it's giving an opportunity for people to know you. And what happens is then you have much healthier business relationships and relationships with your clients, because you've already kind of like pre-qualified people because they already know who you are.
Yeah. I had a girl sign up who, she like saw me posting a picture of me and my husband, and we're in an interracial relationship, and she was like, oh yeah, I signed up for this call because I was super inspired by your story about interracial dating, and then I saw you did health coaching. I was like, okay.
Oh my God.
Take it.
That is just like the essence of personal branding. And
Yeah.
I had same type of thing. I had someone reach out to me. It was actually one of my, like, the best projects I booked of 2019, reached out to me because of a blog post I wrote about moving to Oakland, and just was inspired by my story of moving to the Bay Area.
So you never know.
Yeah.
This all being said, I think one thing that I am trying to work on is also setting a boundary. Like, how much do I want to share versus how much do I want to keep as my own life?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And I think that sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that there's a lot of value in sharing all of you. And I really try and do that online. But I also want to have some element of a boundary, because these are strangers, right? We don't know these people, and some things do feel like, I'll give you an example, right? We recently got married, we got our wedding video back, and I'm trying to decide, it's like a very intimate, personal moment with my family. Is that something I want to share with the whole world, or should I just share like photos, right? So I think where is that boundary between, do we share everything versus what can we keep kind of just for ourselves? I think that's a personal choice.
Absolutely. I always look at it as, how can we use social media as a way to mirror the conversations that we're having with people offline? So if I think about it as, maybe if I pretend like a room full of women at the wing are equivalent to my audience on social media, what would I share with them?
Totally.
What is too intimate? Yeah. So I kind of like use that rule of thumb, because I agree. There's some things that aren't going to feel comfortable to share, and you might not want to, because it's not going to come off like as, I don't know, genuine. Not genuine, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be
relevant. Yeah.
Relevant. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
I think that's the place where you use your intuition. Like, for me, my intuition is like, your wedding video probably doesn't need to be shared with 11,000 strangers. But your wedding photos can be, like, things like that.
Which, by the way, you guys are really sweet.
Oh, we got to meet him. Yeah.
I know. I can't wait. I'm going to invite myself over for dinner soon.
Ew.
Okay. So I always like to end each episode with a question. The question I want to offer you is, what does it mean to have a personal brand?
What does it mean to have a personal brand? Ooh, okay.
Or what does it mean to you specifically?
Okay, what it means to me to have a personal brand is to have a legacy.
Yeah.
In the world. and to make people feel a certain way when they think about you.
Yeah, to leave a really strong impression in people's minds.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that like when people come to my page or when they think about me, like I want them to think about empowerment and inspiration and like my story and kind of connect with me. And I think that having that like footprint in their mind is my personal brand.
I love it. It's perfect.
Yay.
Well, thank you,
What does
Dee.
it mean to you? What would you say on that one?
Oh gosh, I always say like a personal brand means freedom. It's the
Huh.
freedom to do and be exactly who you are and to get paid for who you are and not just what you do. And
Yeah.
it opens doors and opportunities, and it really paves this way for you to live in the name of your purpose, for you to really chase after what you were called to do. So that's what I look at it. I've never had anyone ask me that yet. Thank you.
Aw, of course. Of course.
It's not on the podcast, but okay. So, hey, am I going to see you at the wing this week?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there later today, actually.
Me too.
Sweet.
Let's take a pic.
Let's take, amazing.
Thanks, Dee.